Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Heather, and my husband Levi and I and our 4 kids grow as much of our own food as we can on almost 10 acres in southwestern Kentucky. So if you already know me, you already know all that, but if you didn't know that before, now you do. So with all that being said, I really want to address something that's been, honestly, it's been nagging on me for a few days. And that's the idea of self-sufficiency. It's not a bad idea as a whole. I don't even think it's a bad idea at all necessarily, but it's definitely not something that I strive for. And that's really not what I want people to think. When I tell people we try to grow as much of our own food as possible, there are absolutely things that I don't want to grow, but I am going to continue buying from the grocery store because why not? So we'll talk about it. Ah! I almost fell down. It's still really icy here. So I've mentioned it a little bit on my community tab, and I've talked about it a little bit here and there in some videos, but today, the time of recording is the 1st of February. I'm going to try to get this up this evening so it stays current and relevant. I'm participating in a challenge with a whole bunch of other homesteading friends and homesteading channels called $50 February. And admittedly, I didn't really quite understand what it was all about until just a few days ago. What I thought $50 February was that was your budget for February for groceries. The rest of it you have to eat out of your pantry, period. So let me read you the rules of $50 February. Because honestly, I don't know if it was appropriate for me to necessarily sign up for $50 February. I am still gonna do it, but I have some changes that I'm gonna make for myself here, and feel free to adapt them for yourself. Now, these rules, they're not steadfast. It's not, as they say, a win or lose challenge, but I think maybe there's some things within it that each person really needs to kind of think about their own personal goals and really what they want ultimately out of the place that they call home, their farm, their homestead. Maybe you're somewhere living in the city in an apartment and you're in the dreaming phase. Really consider what self-sufficiency means, and if certain aspects of self-sufficiency are worth sacrificing. So the rules are, number 1, the goal is to spend less than $50 on groceries for a 2-person household in the month of February. For every additional person at your home, you can add $25 per person. The money is for food and beverage. Additional items like toilet paper, cleaners, etc. are not included in the challenge. So the budget for our family, being a family of 6, is $150 for the month of February at the grocery store. Number 2, which makes sense. The goal is to not spend hundreds of dollars today so that you don't spend any money in February. The goal was to garden, raise animals, hunt, fish, barter, etc. to get through February. The goal was never to fill your pantry with store items and use them up during February. Self-sufficiency versus stocking up. Number 3 is what gets me, guys, okay? And I'll explain. If you use pantry items and can't complete the challenge without using pantry items, this is not a loss. Make notes on what you're using, and next year you can work on finding a way to provide those items for yourself. So by pantry items, what they mean is grocery store items. So flour, sugar, I'll have to look at the list. There are a list of allowables, but it's actually pretty small. So I think it's really important before we move on that I put on the screen the definition for self-sufficiency. Self-sufficient, needing no outside help in satisfying one's basic needs, especially with regard to the production of food. And I think with that definition of self-sufficiency, there's a lot that's lacking that I don't think is sustainable. So the real question is self-sufficiency really and truly sustainable? And I don't think so, especially long term. Sure, you can be self-sufficient enough to get through a month, and this challenge is really good for people who have that goal. Let me see what I can get through and get by with. Like, let's say I don't have the ability to go to the grocery store for a full month or whatever, but I don't think that it's necessarily a good thing long term to make self-sufficiency a goal for me. I don't think it's sustainable for me, especially as we age, we're going to start needing outside inputs. And so to me, the more important thing to get out of this is community. And they absolutely, like, none of this is against anybody who started or is heading up or is participating in the $50 February. I'm going to be participating in $50 February, but I'm going to be using the pantry that I have. Everything that's in my house, I will be using it. And let me explain why. We work really hard to grow a lot of our food. We can in no way grow all of it. And I don't think any one person can. And I think if they claim to, there's got to be something that they're missing and they're really wanting. But all that aside, I'm not able to grow every herb. I'm not able to grow every spice. My sister-in-law brought up cinnamon. That's a good one that I never, ever am going to be giving up, and that's imported as far as I know. We don't grow sugar here. We're never gonna grow wheat. I've seen people grow wheat on YouTube. They make little plots of rye or whatever, and they work really hard and they thresh the wheat themselves, and that's cool. Like, it's cool to experience that and it's cool to see that. Is it sustainable? No, it's just not, and it shouldn't be the goal for everyone to be sustainable in everything. There are certain things here on our land that we feel like we could be sustainable on, but something like wheat, I don't think I would want to try, and I don't even know if we have enough land to grow the amount of wheat that we would need in order to have all of our wheat needs met. But here's the thing is we don't have to, and that's okay. And all of these different spices and things that I don't grow and I don't have access to be able to grow here, I don't ever want to be thinking of the mindset that eventually I want to be self-sufficient, and with that, I'm going to be giving up things like cinnamon and other herbs and things that herbs and teas and all of these like really wonderful herbal remedy things. Like, I can't do it all. And that's okay, because we have a very valuable and very good access to community here. So when I think about the challenge, and bullet point number 3, consider what I'm pulling from my pantry that I didn't go from home and how I can provide that for myself in the future. I feel like we already do provide that kind of stuff. Now, we don't grow it, but what I do have a surplus here of things like honey, dairy goats, rabbits, we sell those regularly in order to get an income, and we turn that money into some of the things that we need for some of the things that we don't grow, like sugar and flour and all that. And I actually tallied it up. This last month, so in the month of January, the farm made $753 itself. That didn't include any kind of income that Levi was able to make at his job. And with that $753 well exceeds the grocery bill that we have. Regularly, we will spend around $60 to about $180 per week on outside grocery items. And a lot of that is kind of nonsense stuff that we can do without. And that's where this challenge comes into play for me, is I feel like it'll be kind of refreshing to get our budget cut by a lot, so I can maybe weed out some of the unnecessary things that we've been buying and try to be more intentional with our money. That is really where I was going when I signed up for this challenge, because having $150 to spend for the family, literally it only leaves us $37.50 to spend on food every week. That is a challenge in and of itself. So if I were to do that plus not allow myself grocery store items out of the pantry that I already have, that wouldn't be worth it to me. That would make me miserable. That would make my family miserable. So in many ways, I feel like we're already doing things that the challenge is out there to encourage you to do. We don't grow wheat. I'm never gonna grow wheat, like I mentioned before, but we do have surplus dairy goats. And so we sold some goats, we sold some rabbits, and yeah, I bought a bag of flour at the store, and we buy our flour in bulk because I like to make a lot of bread. I feel like the things that we don't grow here, they take our food that we do grow here to the next level. There are many things that I use in my canning and preserving that I can't get here. So I need a lot of these outside inputs in order to preserve my food and in order to make it really delicious. I can't do it all. I don't want to pretend to do it all. And so I don't think that I'm going to be doing the challenge as written. I'm going to be doing a very basic version of it that I think, honestly, even if you don't have a farm and you don't grow any of your own food, that a lot of people that have a little bit of a pantry stocked up from the grocery store, you guys can do it too if you want. I think a lot of us, at least some of us, probably have some things in the back of the pantry collecting dust that we really need the kick in the pants and the encouragement to use up so that it doesn't go bad, and so we can rotate our stock this year. And I think this month can be a really good encouragement for that, because as I mentioned before, just having that major budget cut at the regular grocery store every week, that's challenge enough for a lot of people. And I'm looking forward to participating in that way. We're going to be posting quite a few videos of things that we're making here, things that we're growing here, stuff that will be accessible to everyone, that allows you to cut out the grocery store a little bit more. But we personally here, we don't ever have the mindset that we're going to be cutting out the grocery store completely. There are just some things that I really like having the access to, that so far we're going to keep having access to, that we don't have to give up, we don't have to suffer without, that really are enriching the things that we already do here. When you realize there's something that you're not going to be able to do, finding a really good source for that, that's going to stick by you when times are tough, that's super valuable. I understand. Nobody understands more than me the pull to get away from the big box stores. We have not shopped at any big grocery store or on Amazon in 2.5 years. We cut that out quite a while ago, and it's caused us to get much, much closer with small vendors. So we posted a video not that long ago shopping at our favorite grocery store that's close to us. It's Oak Ridge Country Store in Cadiz, Kentucky. That's where we do most of our grocery shopping, and we have become very, very close to the owners of that store. And I've actually experienced it before in the past when we didn't have money for groceries. They just gave them to us. And that is such a blessing. That's something that Walmart isn't going to do. And so you want to be able to find little tidbits in your community that are going to be able to support you when something happens, when you don't have the ability to support yourself. Community like that is so invaluable. And so it would be my suggestion to everybody, if you're thinking about self-sufficiency and sustainability and all that, really focus hard on community. There's really no need to suffer through a whole month of just eating carrots with salt and pepper to prove to yourself that you need to reach out and get communities. So this video was not intended to talk down to anybody who maybe does have a self-sufficiency goal. The goal of this video was just to encourage people to be smart and think long-term about the decisions that you make for yourself as far as self-sufficiency goes. What is going to be sustainable for you to do long-term? And really, I feel like close relationships with people who maybe grow something that you don't, or provide a service that you can't do, that's really where the sustainability part of the whole equation comes together. So with self-sufficiency, you can survive. We could survive. Like if we didn't have the access to outside inputs for a while, we could survive. But would we thrive? Probably not. We'd probably be pretty miserable. And I don't really want to sign up for misery. I never want to resent any part of what we do here, and I never want my children to resent any part of what we do here. So I am not striving for self-sufficiency. I would really like to have a sustainable model that works closely with our community, and I think we really do have that going on here, and we're really blessed for that.